Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Rochester. For more than 150 years, ours has been a congregation of open minds and loving hearts, celebrating many sources of wisdom and many spiritual paths. Your faith, your doubts, your questions, your hopes for our world, and your story are welcome here. And our doors are closed because our hearts are open, living our values of care and compassion. You can stay connected online through Sunday coffee hour or small groups, or pick up themed activities for families. If you're a newcomer, you can check out a visitor form on our website where you can sign up to get more information about our church, how to get connected, newcomer classes, and more. Or you can contact the office or our staff to get connected. And also we have Wednesday forums every Wednesday night online. This Wednesday highlights part of our mission statement, which is nurturing spiritual growth, with a panel conversation from leaders of many small spirituality groups here in the church. So you can come and learn about how these groups nurture spirituality through Buddhist meditation or metaphysical spirituality, art as spiritual practice, or deep reflection on religious language and themes, and more. So join us this Wednesday night at 6:30. Today's offering goes to support Journie, which is a local nonprofit providing mentorship-based support through education and personal development for youth in Rochester. We'll be hearing more about that later in the service. You can give at uurochmn.org/give. Thank you for your generosity. A special thank you to Debbie Winters today for providing special music for our service. Thank you for giving your talents to our time together today. And you can join us today at 11:30 for a special forum from the Building Our Future team with updates about what comes next for the future of our building and grounds in the process of discernment we're in. You can view the forum from Wednesday online if you missed it. It's the same basic forum as well today. We hope you join us. You can find the link to this forum either in your e-news or on our website under the Building Our Future tab. And finally, in the words of the Reverend Eliza Tupper Wilkes, minister of this church in the 1870s, may our faith in humanity and our message of hope and good cheer light our way. It's good to be together.
This is the Unitarian Universalist Church. This is the Church of the Flaming Chalice. This is the Church of the Open Minds. This is the Church of the Loving Heart, where friends come together and share.
February's Soul Matters theme has been Beloved Community. As I have pondered the intersection of the COVID-19 pandemic and this idea of community, I'm in wonder at the way I've become aware of my human interactions over the past year and how much I try to make them a positive experience. Being seen by the UPS man so that I don't have to sign for a package has led to a conversation about family. The 2 visits in the last week of a young furnace repair person transformed into a conversation about dogs and their history in his life. The visit to the Semva Gallery, where I work 8 hours a month, of a new Rochester resident who turned out to know our last interim minister and is an artist as well. Tiny interactions with people not in my non-pandemic network, but memorable and heartwarming, full of unintentional meaning and care. Beyond the few personal physical interactions in my life, there is the interconnected web of all beings, or the internet in contemporary terms. I realize that this is a bastardization of the 7th principle, but I shudder when I think about what this pandemic would have been like if it had happened in the 1980s or 1990s. Certainly we had telephones, landlines, and we're getting cell phones, but we did not have generally available access to faces or other kinds of interaction without being together. I feel blessed, even with my less than broadband internet connection, to be able to see and talk to people all over the world, to have opportunities to participate in conversations, conferences, workshops, and classes that previously were only available if you could afford it or made the time to travel to a site. Thus, my idea of church-based beloved community is being expanded to the world as beloved community. It has changed me. I will never be a social butterfly. I am at heart happy at home and alone in my studio. But I am, after months of feeling forced to isolate myself, craving community and face-to-face contact with human beings. Each tiny meeting with another person, whether it be the store clerk or the UU I see in passing and whom I can now recognize with them wearing a mask, takes on an importance not seen in pre-COVID days. I hope that as we move through this year, I can maintain this wider sense of community and help to build better, more connected lives for everyone.
As we continue exploring this month's theme of beloved community,
It's important to recognize that even though sometimes when things seem hard, there are really good people everywhere trying to do good things. Good People Everywhere by Linnea Gillen, illustrated by Christina Swarner. Today, in neighborhoods all over the world, millions and millions of people are doing very good things. Today, carpenters are building fences and houses and repairing homes that have been damaged by storms. Today, dads and moms are cooking dinners for their families, and cooks are working in kitchens making meals for people who don't have homes. Doctors and midwives are delivering babies and gently passing them into the eager arms of their parents. Teachers are teaching math, spelling, and reading skills. Musicians are opening their hearts and playing beautiful music. And dancers are leaping across dance floors, practicing performances that will bring joy to their friends, their families, and the community. Today, people are planting seeds. People are picking fruits and vegetables, and people are driving them to grocery stores all around the world so you can have a ripe, juicy orange in your lunch. Today, a child is trying to do their very best on a science test, and a teenager is helping a young child who is sad and lonely. Today, a first grade boy is helping a friend who has a skinned knee. And a big sister is holding her baby brother while her mother runs across the street to help a neighbor. Today, millions and millions of people will do very good things. And so will you. I wonder what you will do with your day. So if I'm feeling down or overwhelmed, I'll often just think of all the good that people are doing out in the world. And remember, it's still our job to get out there and do the hard work that needs to be done.
Good morning. It is good to be with you. We are still physically separated, but are seeing a light in the future as we look forward to being together again. For now, we continue to gather in this virtual way as we create a place of communal caring and connection. Be enriched by the virtual presence of each other and draw yourself closer into the heart of love at this time of service and reflection. In this time together, we ask that our minds be open, our hearts welcoming, our arms embracing. We honor all who support us in this caring, loving, and all-inclusive ministry. We send gratitude to Marge Dalen, serving as our caring coordinator until February 27th, arranging care for our members and friends in need. The members of our caring committee are wonderful examples of our compassionate community, holding us up as we go through challenging and happy times. And during this time of increasing needs in our lives and community, we encourage you to reach out for support and help if you are experiencing hardship. Many of us may need additional care, whether it's personal pastoral care, grocery delivery, or an errand run, and we encourage you to reach out to Reverend Luke or myself with that request. We thank all of you who have served our congregation in this way over the last months. In this community, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because each person here has value. Each person's experience matters. We lift up those whose lives are touched by sadness, by illness, by worry, or by loneliness. And we revel in those who are celebrating joys in their lives. May their happiness lift us all. May all of us find comfort, hope, joy, and healing strength in this community. We hold close in our hearts this morning Chris D'Amatos. Chris's father, Richard D'Amatos, passed away on February 5th after an accident in his home in North Carolina. Fortunately, all immediate family, all 3 of his children and all 5 grandchildren, were able to be with him or near him before he passed to support Chris's mom and have a family remembrance at Mom and Dad's home. At this time of sadness, please keep the family in your thoughts. And we send strength also to Dottie Johnson. Dottie's brother, Timothy Meineke, suffered a massive heart attack just after going to bed on January 29th. He was kept comfortable through the week, and he passed away on the morning of February 6th. At this time of unexpected loss, we hold Dottie and their family in our loving embrace. And I ask for you to keep my mom, Kathy Huff-Tailing, in your thoughts. After a few days of feeling poorly, Kathy spent Wednesday evening in the emergency room, where she was admitted to St. Mary's to undergo testing for intestinal issues. We're hoping for an easy fix and that she feels better quickly. Kathy would love cards of support and well wishes as she heals. And Shelley Rowe is thrilled to share the news that she has returned to Rochester after moving to LA last year. Shelley will be working with UUA as the AIM Accessible and Inclusion Ministry Administrator, which is a joint venture between Equal Access and the UUA to certify congregations, of which Rochester is one, the 4th, of 6 to receive that distinction. We are thrilled to welcome her back into the community and the arms of our congregation. As we round the corner of uncertainty, we continue to focus on reaching out to all of those around us to let them know we are still here and still holding and supporting them. We encourage you to send cards and make phone calls to those that you love, helping to support them, and encourage you to support our community and local businesses as we safely reopen. May the faith in the spirit of life, love for the community of earth, and love for the light in each other be ours now and in all the days to come.
I invite you to take a deep breath. Breathe deep the breath of life. Breathe deeply here in this house of love and justice, hope and grace. Know that here in this community you are named and you are known as beloved, as sacred. Feel below you the earth and its ancient turning, above you the sky and the stars shining with ancient light, holding you in this moment right now, this breath right here. I invite you into this time of meditation, this time of prayer, first by sharing silence together. Spirit of life and source of love, God of 1,000 names and beyond all naming, may we remember in these tender days to be gentle with ourselves and with each other, to know we have been stretched thin day after day, week after week, in ways we couldn't have imagined. May we be gentle with ourselves and with each other, offering grace and kindness, taking moments and taking time to tend to our needs, the needs of others in whatever small ways we can, and help us remember it is so often the seemingly smallest things that can make such a difference, to remind people they are loved, to remind ourselves we are loved. We hold in our hearts this day all those who suffer in mind, in body, or spirit. I invite you to bring those names to mind this day that you're holding, in joy or sorrow, celebration or concern, and silently or aloud now in this time to speak their names. For those names and many others, may we all be held in love and grace. These words of meditation come from the poet Jan Richardson. It's entitled Blessing the Dust. It's a blessing as the Christian tradition begins this week the season of Lent, which is a season of reflection, moving up to the holiday of Easter. I invite you to hear this blessing in whatever religious language speaks to you, whatever spiritual language speaks to you, as a blessing for all those who journey and all those finding strength in the midst of struggle. She writes, all those days that you felt like dust, like dirt, as if all you had to do was turn your face toward the wind and be scattered to the four corners or swept away by the smallest breath as insubstantial. Did you not know what the Holy One can do with dust? This is the day we freely say we are scorched. This is the hour we are marked by what has made it through the burning. This is the moment we ask for the blessing that lives within ancient ashes, that makes its home inside the soil of this sacred earth. Let us be marked not for sorrow, and let us be marked not for shame. Let us be marked not for false humility or for thinking we are less than we are, but for claiming what God can do within the dust, within the dirt, within the stuff of this world of which we are made. The stars that blaze in our bones and the galaxies that spiral inside the dust and the ash. Amen.
Hi, my name is Rosalind Moore. I'm the Interim Director of Journie. Journie is a nonprofit organization that is based in Rochester, Minnesota. Journie was originally located at the Boys and Girls Club on the north side before they shut down, back in around 2011-2012, when Journie was first founded. Journie understands that the youth of our community have challenges in their adolescence and the transition to adulthood. At Journie, we know that our youth are creative, smart, and curious. We see their limited potential and aim to provide them with the skills and resources to envision and attain their ideal future. Journie is unique in the provision of high quality, ongoing mentorship in addition to need-based education and interactive learning experiences. Journie focuses not only on personal development, but ongoing support, building support system, and a vibrant, engaging community for our young people. Journie has a 8-step to promotion. The 8-step of promotion workshop helps them to embody and embrace their full potential. We have a workshop that based off of mental health and coping skills, financial literacy, the importance of relations and relationships, and so much more. Thank you, and investing in Journie, because investing in Journie, we can invest in our youth.
first reading is Winter Thanks by Marcus Jackson. To the furnace, tall steel rectangle containing a flawless flame. To heat, gliding through ducts, our babies asleep like bundled opal. Praise every furry grain of every warm hour. Praise each deflection of frost. Praise the fluent veins. Praise the repair person, trudging in a Carhartt coat to dig for leaky lines. Praise the equator, where snow is a stranger. Praise the eminent sun for letting us orbs buzz around it like younger siblings. Praise our ancestors who shuddered through winters, bunched on stark bunks. Praise the owed money, becoming postponed by a lender who won't wait much longer in the icy wind. Praise the neon antifreeze in our Chevrolet radiator, and praise the kettle whistle, imitating an important train, delivering us these steam-brimmed sips of tea. The Underworld by Sharon Bryan is our second reading. When I lived in the foothills, birds flocked to the feeder. House finches, goldfinches, sky blue lazuli buntings, impeccably dressed chickadees, sparrows in work clothes, even hummingbirds fast forwarding through the trees. Some of them disappeared after a week, headed north, I thought, with the sun. But the first cool day, they were back, then gone, then back, more reliable than weathermen. And I realized they hadn't gone north at all, but up the mountain, as invisible to me as if they had flown 1,000 miles, yet in reality just out of sight, out of reach. Maybe at the end of our lives, the world lifts that slightly away from us and returns once or twice to see if we've refilled the feeder, if we still remember it, or if we've taken leave of our senses altogether.
If you've ever had yourself or a loved one or a friend have to work in a work environment that requires being on call from time to time, you might know the feeling, the underlying wondering of at any moment, that feeling, that you never know what might come next. Certainly in healthcare or in emergency services of any kind, maybe in crisis care for mental health. Of course, my own experience of being on call brings to mind chaplaincy training and colleagues who are chaplains who do that work full time, being ready to provide crisis spiritual care to an individual or to a family from who knows what, if any, religious tradition in who knows what medical or psychological crisis. And these colleagues are navigating the complexity right now, along with everyone navigating all the complexities, about how to respond, about how to give care and support with such harsh conditions right now, such intense separation in most settings. Growing up, for me, it was a different set of harsh conditions that would set the tone of being on call in my family. When we would gather for winter holidays or birthdays in the wintertime here on the southern Minnesota prairie, there was almost always someone in the house with a little pager. Kids, you can ask someone older in your house what a pager is. This little pager carried every holiday by my grandpa or one of my uncles that would beep if there was an HVAC emergency. Some of you know that my father's family ran an HVAC business, plumbing, heating, and air conditioning in a small town in southern Minnesota. And with the extreme cold, you might imagine, comes HVAC emergencies. Burst pipes from the cold, short cycling of just clunked out furnaces who have given up hope and decided to hibernate for the winter. I was always fascinated when the little beeper would go off in the middle of a holiday meal or right before the cake came out for the birthday, whenever it was, right in the middle of whatever family celebration it was, this little electric bird song would halt the conversation. And whoever had it would say, "Gotta go, I'm on call." They would have to make a call to check what it was, grab their coat, and go out into the little plumbing truck being sent out into the frigid Arctic conditions of a bitterly cold Minnesota winter day, like some superhero in my young mind, to save the day. And in actuality, in some cases, as we know in climates right now in the South who are struggling with infrastructures not set up for this, in some cases it keeps people alive, to bring people warmth and survival. It's like the hymn, "I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find, and I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the wintertime." Or I'll bring a pipe, or I'll bring a toolbox where heat is hard to find. This stretch recently of winter intensity has reminded me of those harsh conditions, and the harsh conditions generally that find us in this life, in this world. Sometimes as obvious as fierce air that meets your skin the moment you step out the door and takes your breath away, freezes your face. That fierce cold that lifts the dog's paw quickly, whose bravery seems to ice up real quick. And sometimes the conditions of harshness in this world are not so obvious, hidden and quiet, that constrict or limit or harm the most vulnerable to the physical, social, spiritual conditions of harshness. Some of them disappeared, I thought, with the sun, writes the poet Sharon Bryan. And then they were back, more reliable than weathermen, she writes. And I realized they hadn't gone at all, but up the mountain, as invisible to me as if they had flown 1,000 miles, yet in reality just out of sight, just out of reach. It can seem these days that the birds, be they our loved ones, be they real birds, be they the places we miss longing to be or to go, the experiences we are heartsick and hopeful for, the people we have missed so deeply, it can seem they are like birds that have gone. Or we might feel like one ourselves, as if we have flown 1,000 miles from each other. How do you hold on to a sense of community in the harshness of these conditions? How do we hold on to each other when we can't hold on to each other? How do we remind each other, as the poet does, as if they had flown 1,000 miles, yet in reality, just out of sight, out of reach, just slightly away from us. Just out of sight, reach, slightly away. How are we remembering, as the poet talks about, the feeder? How do we remember to go and fill it? Or how are we noticing how the feeder has been filled by someone else as we're going along our way, just when we need a little nourishment? Filling the feeder is physically harder and harder as winter drags on, but also in the spiritual, soulful sense, it's harder and harder to fill the feeders of nourishment for each other, for ourselves. This year of deep soul winter, and the drifts pile up and the temperatures plummet. How do we remember where the feeders are and trace our tracks back to them? How do we keep filling, providing what we can to whoever might need it? While I was writing parts of this week, I took a little walk to the chapel at the far end of the building just to move around and warm up a little bit. And as I got further along, the air got colder. There was big drafts of cold air coming through. And as I got to the chapel, one of the windows had frost, quite a bit of frost on it. And so I looked at the thermostat. It had no reading at all. It just gave up. The heat registers were stone cold. And I thought, HVAC emergency. I don't really know what to do, but I know it's an emergency. And as I began to write a note to our building steward and our boiler volunteer extraordinaire, Dave Edmondson, I started writing, but the thermostat has no reading, so maybe it just needs a battery. And then I replied to myself in my head, well, maybe just change the battery. And so before sending the message, thank God, I did. And as soon as the battery clicked in, I heard the clink and the rush of hot water filling those registers. All of it was a tiny little battery that had gotten too cold and tuckered out. Just needed a little battery to melt the ice off the chapel windows. Sometimes it's really small things, remembering that it's not always an emergency. When there is something little we can do, or at least try to melt the ice from our frozen over windows, souls. I don't know about you, and some days I'm quite unsure about it myself, but I have heard over and over again from the poets and teachers of the ages, of ancestors, that one of the only ways to find our way through the harshest conditions is to give thanks for the smallest, tiniest, seemingly insignificant things, like a daily litany of survival, of gratitude, to praise all those small moments, because that's a type of spiritual practice that can find us anywhere. It's not grandiose, it's not big, it's not all rose-colored glasses. It's noticing something tiny that you can give thanks for. Praise be, writes the poet, to the furnace and the ductwork, to the steam-brimmed sips of tea. Praise to the repair person trudging in the Carhartt coat. Praise the owed money being postponed. Praise to the antifreeze and the eminent sun and the little battery that can melt the frozen windows. Praise be indeed. It is our calling to be on call, regardless of how it might find and settle into our own abilities or gifts. It is each of our calling to be good people everywhere, to be on call, to keep returning to the feeder for the birds we're not even sure are maybe still there, or maybe they are, or maybe they're just cold and hiding, or when they might come back, to trudge through the snow, to get in our little truck, whatever that means to us, whatever it means to find our superpower. Sometimes it's the most mundane things we can do that we have to offer, what tools, skills, gifts that we have that seem small, that can respond to the real emergency of broken and shattered souls and spirits, lonely hearts, which might be our own. Sometimes it simply means giving thanks for the feeder filled by someone else when we need it, to praise that someone was able to bring hope when hope is hard to find, with a cup of soup or tea, with a card or a call, with a reminder of the sunshine, with a song and a rose in the wintertime. There are hungry souls, maybe yours, needing feeders filled by strangers, needing deliverers of warmth. You have a light, no matter how dim it may seem. No matter how little seed you think you have put in the feeder or have to give, we can bring each other warmth and hope, and we can receive it from others. Sometimes it just takes a tiny little bit, of warmth, of love in the harshest of conditions, when we can't even see, touch, hear, notice where each other is. Each of us is on call, called knowing we are beloved, called to love. It takes just a little bit of love across the distance. And maybe that's all it might take sometimes to keep each other alive. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do?